Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 3 of 7 podcast. I just wanted to take a quick minute of your time today to check in, let you know what's going on with the 3 of 7 project, let you know what's going on with me personally, with Blake, and talk a little bit about something I call momentum shift and how I deal with times in life when the momentum shifts, like we're all experiencing right now. So a couple things to cover today. This is just going to be a fun episode that I wanted to sit down and share with you guys. First of all, everything within 3 of 7 is going outstanding. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in to this podcast, for sharing this podcast, supporting us on Patreon, reaching out via email or Instagram. The interaction with you guys has just been mind-boggling, and we could not do anything without you guys supporting us and going out and passing the word and making this world a better place. So thank you guys all so much for what you do and what you have done already for us at 3 of 7 Project. Thank you for being part of the team. We love each and every one of you. We did a gear class on my Instagram the other day, Instagram Live. And I've never done anything like that before. I didn't know what the, interaction was going to be, didn't know how people were going to receive it, because it's a little bit different side of me. I really enjoy, talking gear and talking tactics and all that stuff, but I'm pretty guarded about that stuff. It's definitely it's different. It's different than the mindset stuff, which is my true passion. Talking about body, soul, and spirit, talking about mindset, those type of things. But that gear class got a really, really strong response. And it made me realize that there is a need or a want for the other side of what it was to be a SEAL. So, I view it as there's kind of two aspects of, I don't know, being a SEAL or whatever thing you've done in your life. There's two aspects. There's the mindset aspect of it and how you get through it mentally and emotionally, which I think is the number one aspect of it, of getting through any big challenge. And then the other aspect of being a SEAL was the actual physical, I guess, practice of it. So the tactical side, and the physical knowledge, whether it was in, emergency medical procedures, defense and offensive tactics, and then the actual equipment, the knowledge of the gear that we had to use while we were out in the field. So I realized that there was a need and there was a want for people to kind of learn that other aspect of, what I've done with my life. And again, I'm pretty guarded about it, but I've chosen to kind of offer, that side of stuff. So to a limited group anyways. So we're going to do a class on April the 15th, I think it is, at 9:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this will be the first time I've ever done something like this, but basically what we're going to cover is family and self-defense tactics. So basically how to put in place or develop a defense strategy for yourself and for your family, whether it's in your workplace, in your own personal home, whatever it may be, wherever you spend most of your time. We're going to talk about emergency medical procedures. I think that's really important. It's something that is pretty easy to grasp once you're taught it in the right way. So, I've done a lot of live tissue training in the SEAL teams and had my hands on that stuff and had to understand it. That was a pretty important part of my job. So we'll pass those skills along to you guys. And then firearms selection and safety. I keep hearing that, gun ownership right now is at its all-time high. And it is what it is. So, a big reason for me putting this information out right now is because if you guys have thought about owning a firearm, or if you are new to owning firearms, I really genuinely want you to be safe and want you to be comfortable. So by passing this along to you in this upcoming course, hopefully it will allow you, if you make that choice to own a firearm, it'll allow you to utilize that tool in a safe way. So that's what this is all about. Anyways, if you guys want to sign up, there's a couple steps. I want you to email me, I'm in, plus your first and last name, to chadwright278@gmail.com. That'll reserve your spot. Then I want you to go send a request to join my private coaching group on Facebook called Charlie Mike Training Group. This is brand new, guys, this Charlie Mike Training Group. Again, this is where I'll be sharing kind of the more tactical gear side of what I've done for my entire life. Again, this won't be my main focus, but I'm creating this because I feel like there's a need and a want for it. So go and request to join that private group on Facebook, Charlie Mike Training Group. I'll follow up your email with a payable invoice. It's going to cost $77 to get access to this private training group and, be able to view the course that we're putting on. It'll be done via Facebook Live off of this private training group page. So once I receive your payment, I'll go ahead and approve your request to join the Charlie Mike Training Group Facebook page, and then we will go live on April 15th at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 9 o'clock p.m. That's the idea around that. I hope you guys get it. I hope to see you guys there, and we'll get to share some great information with you. Blake is obviously going to be helping me with this. Blake's got a ton of experience also when it comes to this stuff. He was a law enforcement officer and a SWAT team member for quite a while, so we'll get his perspective on these topics also. Should be fun. That's the main objective, is to have fun, and this course will be taught at a high level, and it will be digestible for people at all different skill levels, male or female. It's not going to be something that's, super, super in-depth to where it requires you to have a significant prior experience, and that's the goal of it. So hope to see you there. Again, email I'm in plus your first name to chadwright278@gmail.com to reserve your spot. Go send a request to join the private Facebook group, Charlie Mike Training Group. I'll send you an invoice. Once you pay, I'll approve your membership on the private Facebook group, and we'll rock and roll on April 15th at 9 p.m. All right. That's a lot of stuff, guys. Sorry. Just wanted to bring you up to speed on what was going on with me, because I just made a post about it. I don't want you guys to be confused. What I want to talk about today is momentum shift. And I've struggled with this a lot in my life. And, I think it started back when I was on active duty. And, whether I was in a training cycle or I was on a deployment, when you're out with the guys, you're out with your platoon, and you're running and gunning and just going hard, man, every single day, it's a different way of life. It really is. And, you're living in this bubble where, you pretty much just eat, sleep, and breathe tactics and war and, everything that comes along with being a SEAL. And then you get home and the momentum, in a way, it grinds to a halt, because when you get home, you don't have a lot to focus on, because your entire life has, been your work. And it's tough. It really is. It has, I think it's hard on, it's definitely hard on my wife, hard on, relationships with friends outside of the military, and, whatever. It's something that, I've struggled with ever since those days. And then, so these days I continue to kind of battle with these momentum shifts. And when I experience it in a big way now, at this point in my life, is in racing. So I'll put a big race on my calendar. I'll train up for it. I'm consumed with training. I get really, really front sight focused on a goal. And what do I mean when I say front sight focused? I mean that, like, everything else in the peripheral is blocked out, and all I can focus on is that single goal. So that's what happens when I put a big race on my calendar. And I train hard and get to race day, knock the race out, and then after the race is over, I find myself in this state of, like, almost mild depression, because, again, there's that huge momentum shift to where I've got something to focus on, and I'm just rolling. I'm in the groove. I'm clicking, and then, I accomplish the goal and it's all over. So how do I deal with that? I describe it as like a mild state of depression almost, because it's what it is. I mean, I'll spend a couple days where I'm just kind of poopy pants about the whole situation, and I don't have anything to focus on. And how do I deal with that? Number one is I have learned to expect it. I've learned to identify it and anticipate it. Not be anxious about it, but anticipate it. Anticipate that feeling that I'm going to have when I reach or accomplish that goal and the momentum shifts. So it's so much easier to deal with this when it's not a surprise to you, and that is just part of this cycle that we go through as humans. So we start off at the bottom of a mountain. We set a goal to get to the summit. And when we reach the summit, it's everything that you expected it to be, hopefully. You get these grand views, you're high, and then you have to come down from that. It's just a continuous cycle. I think this is a law of nature. And you guys, I know, it's a common theme in most of the stuff I talk about. We can take principles of nature. We can look at the order of things outside in creation, and then we can apply them to our everyday life. So again, I anticipated. I know that backside, that downhill section, once I've reached the summit, is going to come. It's coming. And so that helps me take a lot of, first of all, that helps me take a lot of power away from it. And I'm not getting surprised when that momentum shift happens. So second thing I do, so I know it's coming. So when it does hit, how do I deal with it? Well, there's one thing I do in that first few days after a big race, after, I've achieved whatever the goal is that I had set for myself, and it happens, And that first few days afterwards, when I'm just kind of in that mild state of depression, well, I make a conscious decision that that I'm just going to accept that. And I'm not gonna accept it as a perpetual part of my reality, but I choose to go ahead and spend a few days reflecting back on that mission that I had just been on that goal that I had just accomplished. And the first day after, I may go through a stage again of being a little sad, and and that's totally fine with me. So I'll just block out that day and I'll say, okay, I'm gonna just sit on the couch and watch the Andy Griffith Show today and eat ice cream. That's fine. That's fine. When you can, for me, it's healthy to spend a day like that. It's not an unhealthy thing, because I accept it, but I also know that it cannot be a perpetual acceptance. It's got to be a temporary acceptance. I think for me, it's just accepting it as part of the process. So shortly after, I spend that day or so kind of just in that mild state of depression. I might spend another day reflecting back on that mission, thinking of what I did right, what I did wrong, what I could have done better. And I'll write it. I'll write it down. I'll write that mission out, and I'll make it plain. And I think it's important to write things out so we can look back on them later on in our lives, and the vision or the mission doesn't become blurry, and the lessons learned don't become blurry. Because I found a lot of times in my life too that when I look back and reflect on a mission, if I haven't written it down, as time goes on, not only will it become a little blurry, but my mind convinces me almost that things didn't happen the way they actually happened. Like, my perspective changes on it. So it's good to, when you're taking that time after you've accomplished your goal, to write it down. That way the perspective is current, it's fresh, it's real. And as time goes on, and your perspective may change and your memory may change, you've got it written plainly, and you can go back to the truth of what that situation actually was. So the last thing that I do to deal with these momentum shifts is I refocus my goal. I refocus that front sight focus that I told you that I get. I refocus it on a new goal. So I gotta put something else on my calendar. With racing, usually when I accomplish a race, again, I go through that phase, that downhill section, and then once I get back down in that valley, I refocus my attention on the next summit. So whether that's putting another race on the calendar, whether that's trying to dream up a new FKT or something that I can refocus on, guys. And we've had to do this with 3 of 7 here lately. This whole thing that we're all going through has been a huge momentum shift for me. And I'm going to tell you, it's been, you guys know, I don't have to tell you because you guys have experienced it too. Everything has just come to this grinding halt. And before all this happened, we were rolling. I mean, as a society, as Americans, we were rocking and rolling, man. The economy was great. Everybody was just really nailing it. And same with 307 Project, I was traveling, speaking, multiple speaking engagements every weekend and a few during the week, and just rolling, man. And then this hit and the momentum changed, and I went through that period of kind of being lost myself. And I'll be straight up honest with you guys. It was causing some strife within my marriage. It was causing some, negative thoughts to creep into my head. But, again, I'm conscious of it, and I knew what was going on, and I knew that I couldn't allow that to be a perpetual thing. So I had to make a conscious decision to refocus my energy on something else, at least temporarily. And I think that's a lot about what the the gear class thing that we did the other day on Instagram was all about, and what this upcoming course is all about. It's refocusing the energy on a different summit. And we talk a lot about taking quitting off the table, and my definition of taking quitting off the table is to continue to push forward in the direction of your goal or in the direction of that next summit until something outside of your control either stops you or changes your direction. So that's something outside of your control. That's what we're all experiencing right now. The thing that has changed the momentum right now is that something that's totally out of our control. So instead of allowing that thing to stop you, just change your direction. And that's what I've chosen to do in my own life. And, we're focusing on now these virtual engagements. We've been able to provide a lot of value there. We're focusing heavily on the podcast. We've had some great guests on, the last couple of weeks since all this happened. And so don't think of that thing that's outside of your control. When you're on the way to the summit, when that thing, don't let it stop you. Just change your direction. See, you guys have heard me say before, there is always a way. Always. So you're trekking up this mountain in the direction of this summit, and you run into something. Well, on the trail that you're traveling, you run into something. You didn't expect it. It's out of your control. Well, you can always step off that trail, and you can side straddle the mountain. You can go around the side of this mountain until you find another path that leads to in the direction of the same summit. So it may add a little distance to your trek. This is the same thing that happened to me when I decided to go join the Navy with my heart surgery and everything. It's the exact same thing. I've got my sights focused on the summit. I'm heading up this well-beaten trail. It's all laid out before me. And then, boom, this heart condition stops me in my tracks along this path that I was traveling, that was laid out and well-worn. And, instead of allowing that obstacle in that trail to block my view of my summit, I decided to just straddle around the side of the mountain until I finally found a way to fix my heart and jump on another trail that in turn took me to that same summit. And it was actually a more valuable trek when I had to jump off that well-beaten path, guys. So I hope you can understand this kind of parable almost that we're talking about here today. There's always a way, guys. I promise you, there's always a way. And I challenge you today to take quitting off the table, period. I hope you guys get it. So again, the momentum shift, how do we deal with it? Well, expect it. When the momentum shifts, expect that period where you might be a little confused, you might be a little upset, you might be a little sad. That's okay. That's part of the journey. So we expect it, we accept it for only a short period of time, and then we refocus our sights either on the next summit or back onto the summit that we were trying to reach in the first place. Just find a different route to the top. That's my message for today, guys. I hope you got something out of it. Again, I love you guys. I thank you so much for all of your support. I hope you're all doing outstanding. And yeah, that's all I got for you today. This was fun. Enjoyed it. This is the 307 podcast. Nuff Said.